Okay, so, having received some feedback on the last episode, we're going to do a little bit of experimenting. First off, I was told that using these on a planet will spawn additional starting forces on that planet. We're going to test that. We're also going to test these guys. We're actually going to set up a couple planets. Where would be convenient? Let's see. How about Denon and... You know what, let's do Bothaway. Yeah, you know what, also Denon. Because I want to see what kind of actual forces they have set up initially. Because on reflection, I'm really liking this idea of a mid-game crisis faction, where a separate faction came in and kind of smashed everyone's fleets, and that's why we're all kind of been driven back to square one. I like the idea of a line of planets between us and most of the galaxy, providing a buffer that is, at least hopefully going to mean that we will have some additional time to set up and prepare, and so will the enemy. So once we actually start getting into a fight with one another, you know, it's going to be hopefully closer to where we were to begin with in the previous version. So this mid-game crisis faction has to have no AI in order for this to make sense. But that kind of leaves two major factions that I think make a lot of sense to do this with. And I am kind of thinking I might actually want to do the Killiks instead. If they have like actual ground and space forces enough to provide some kind of challenge, like I don't know if they have like two different space units. That's maybe not going to be... I mean, these guys only have a couple of space units, but like, I guess what I'm going to test here is which one of them seems like it would be more fun and interesting to have as this. Particularly since, as I mentioned before, the Sea Ruvi have been in our campaign before. We have actually fought them. They have actually been defeated and removed from the campaign. So, you know, there's an argument there for, yeah, they've been defeated, so they shouldn't be here anymore. So if the Killiks have enough that I feel like they can be a faction that did this, then I'm gonna actually swap it over to them. Honestly, I don't think there are any other factions here that would make sense for this. Like, we have the Chiss, but I don't feel like, Well, I thought they were an active AI, but they're not. They could be an option. That could be interesting. Cause that's an actual faction, isn't it? You know what? Let's give this a bit of a test as well, since we're gonna do it anyway. Why am I even? How about here? And I guess deep space. I'm trying not to mess with the map too much. I guess it doesn't matter, actually, if I mess with it, because I've got the save of what things look like, but I don't want to... I put a lot of thought and effort into planning out which planets go to whom, and I don't want to completely screw it up, basically. So yeah, we'll. If it's not clear what I'm doing here is I'm gonna do the thing, but this is not going to be the actual campaign. We're testing things out and deciding. I'm gonna get into it, and we're gonna attack these planets to determine what do they have. How much does adding the faction capital actually increase the starting forces? Let me actually get a couple more of these. Maybe because I want to test it, but I also want to actually remember what planets we're doing the test on. I don't want to just do it willy-nilly. You know what? For science, I suspect this isn't gonna do anything, but let's put 2 of them, see if it changes it. Let's do that at Voss, because Voss doesn't have much in the way of defenses compared to Fondor. That might make a difference. Possibly. Maybe. I don't actually know. Which is why we're testing it. But yeah, if this gives a really significant boost to the starting forces, something we might do is actually all of these mid-game crisis planets, faction planets, I might give one of these 2 to make them more difficult to get through. To mean that, again, we have more of a buffer, which will give us more time to build up, will give them more time to build up, and hopefully make things more interesting. I probably will give a faction capital to each of the Hut planets as well. I think that'd be fair. But the other thing that I want to test, I was looking through... Also, I managed to forget to send this, because that's... maybe I actually should have done that yet. Well... whatever. We have pilots. Pilot heroes. I'm pretty sure... obviously we can't do Wedge because he's already in Lusankia. I'm pretty sure we got Kelchu killed. So obviously he can't be in there. I don't actually recognize any of the rest of these guys. I don't think. But this guy can be with Akbar. So I want to test out... I'm doing this in the worst way possible, aren't I? Get out of the way.
Transmission received.
You... Nope. You... And we're gonna send him to... Let's say Fondor. I'm a little confused as to how exactly this whole system works. I had been under the impression that all of the heroes you get have to be on the planet where you do the starter. But the descriptions open a menu to assign this hero squadron to another hero's fighter complement. Only one squadron may be assigned to a hero host hero at a time. If no valid target is on the map, the menu will not open. There's that, and then there was also... Fighter assigned dummies can only be moved when in a fleet with a space hero. If they share a location with a space hero, the squadron will be assigned to that hero, and the hero will be kept. So I think what that is telling me is that over here, they're not going to be kept. But because this guy is now in this fleet with Akbar, he will be... question mark? That's something we're gonna test out. I'm also... no, I think that was it. Because we don't have any of these heroes. Oh, actually there was one other thing. I think we need to have these as well. Because we don't have them unlocked. I think technically, actually, we do have them unlocked in the campaign. The problem is they are only buildable on Yavin. Now, I seem to remember Corey loses discussing the possibility or plans. I thought it was plans, but maybe it was just a potential to allow Jedi to be built on other planets. I don't know if that's in this version. I suspect it's not. But either way, I think if we are going to be able to build Jedi, we're going to need this here. I think. The other units that we have not unlocked yet, these two, and also that one, I believe these are unlocked through research. Certainly this one is, because we have had that research available for quite a while, but we've never done it because it's an interdictor that's a Star Destroyer, and I've not really felt the need to have an interdictor Star Destroyer, so I've never spent the money on it. These two we have not seen yet, but I believe they are unlocked later. I'm reasonably certain that if I were to put those over here, we would just get them. So, as in get the ability to build them. So, I am actually going to do that to determine whether or not that's correct. And we might have to, because the thing is, we're starting in ABY 4. That's we had gotten to the Viscount. You know? So it's kind of like, and these things are after the Viscount. I don't know exactly what the requirements are to unlock that, but that's after the Viscount. But we've already unlocked the Viscount, yet we're starting this fresh. And if I were to just do it to default for ABY tech, we would not get the Viscount for a long time. Or those other ships, for that matter. Which is exactly why, here's the thingy, I have decided to do the custom roster so that we can select what we have available to us. My concern is that if we have this here, it's just going to give it to us straight up, give the research to us, and we won't have to do the story mission thing, and probably, I would assume, spend a lot of credits getting it, researching it, building it. Obviously, it's not necessarily going to give us the unit in, like, starting forces or anything, I assume, but, like, I don't know. So I'm testing it. We're going to find out what exactly is going on here. Additionally, we're going to... we're going to set up warlords, but I was... There are two different ones here. This one is an inactive faction. In pick enemy location mode, this faction will be given the planet this object is over. This is not an inactive faction. In pick enemy location mode, this faction will be given the planet this object is over. Same thing. Proteus faction. This faction is used to represent a variety of smaller groups. Its options will be spawned on a planet during startup. If one is with the starter dummy or its faction dummy, the heroes and roster changes from that option will be chosen. Otherwise, a random choice will be made. All units that can be disabled by choices will be present on roster additions. So, the thing that I'm not quite understanding and that we're going to test is, and I'm gonna want to do this somewhere nearby where I can actually attack these planets to see what's on them. I might use these actually. The thing that I need to know is, let's say for example we do this, right? Doesn't matter who we're doing, and then let's say one more over here. And for the sake of question mark, gonna do that.
System control achieved.
Oh, that's not good. I forgot that one. That one there is it's space only. Whoops. Well. Oh. Doesn't just make the planets empty, it gives them independent forces. Okay, I guess that works. The what I was trying to test here didn't get tested because they all these planets still had the Republic. Whoops. It did not give us Sullust. Who is that color? Corporate Sector Authority. Oh right. That's yeah. That planet still had the whole stack of all of the tokens on it. So that's not great. Deep space still locked. Where's Typhera? It did give it to us. Can you go away? Isard is taking leadership of the Empire. There's as far as I can tell, nothing really that I can do about that. Can I send somebody to it?
Navigating.
Yes. Oh, maybe it just takes a while to unlock when it's been owned. I'm not sure. New Republic. What is it actually called? New Republic Senate. It doesn't look that much more substantial. 58, 61. Fallis had 2, right? Duro had 1 as well. 57 versus 15, 9, 16. Okay, yeah, it's something. And then there's this, which is it's a lot because of I'm just trying to determine what starting forces is actually giving us. 57. Okay, so yeah, the thingy, the government Capitol building is definitely giving us more. Yeah. Okay, so that's one part of the test confirmed. Does in fact give you more. It looks like it might potentially complete more of the ground structures as well. Because this is more than half for sure. So is that. So is that. So is that. Not. These are half even. That's more than half. Yeah, I'm thinking it does give you like potentially 1 extra building. So in other words, it's not spawning this instead of one structure that it would have given you, it's spawning the structures that it was going to spawn anyway, plus the Capitol building. That was something I wasn't sure about, so that's good to know. Okay, now that did actually give them Corellia. Let's find out. Is there any particular way I need to do this? I don't think so. Let's just find out.
Tactical battle imminent.
Enemy forces ahead.
Oh, that's a torpedo sphere. Yep, that's what that is. Okay. Confirmed. That is substantial. I don't want to take too close a look. It's more just a case of I'm trying to gauge the strength, you know? But that definitely means that they've got a proper amount of forces there. Let's take a look. I'm already starting to forget what I did. Let me do this, is it? Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I really don't. But they're already doing stuff. Okay. Okay, yeah. These are chess ships. For sure. So these would... The reason I don't want to use these guys as the mid-game crisis faction is simply because of the question of motivation. You know, like, sure, you could argue that the Chiss could pull off something like this, but why would they? That's the important part. Let's take a look at these guys. Yeah, see, that's a concern right there, is that they've only got, really, the one unit type. Effectively. There's the smaller ones and the larger ones. And they're not even getting much out of the garrison here. Okay, there we go. I guess it just takes a little... Has the delay been increased? Or... I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
We can't lose.
Definitely gonna take a look at the Killix. Was that one of the ones where I put a capital? I'm now forgetting. Shoot. Well, let's take a look at the Killix. What have they got?
Tactical battle.
Level 2 shipyard again. That doesn't look like anything very unique. Oh, that's an interdictor. Oh, well.
Waiting orders. I'm on it.
Yeah, this is just very generic, random, vaguely Imperial looking forces. This doesn't say to me, oh yes, this is an actual invader that has attacked. And defeated stuff. Let me take a look, see. How much do they have in here for the huts?
The enemy has been spotted.
There's something. The huts have actual ships. Right. Oh, and their garrisons are actual hut ships too. Whoa. Whoa, okay. Yeah. So problem with doing the huts is that they are actually an active faction. No. You guys...
Frigate
I know.
reporting.
Okay. Just waste my time, why don't ya? But yeah, that genuinely makes me want to make the huts the mid-game crisis faction. But again, the problem is they're active. They'll actually go out and do stuff and conquer territory, and I don't want to just bring in a whole new faction that's gonna be active on the galactic map. I'm fine with a faction that is inactive, but I don't. They would be perfect if I could just deactivate their AI on the galactic level. Don't think I could do that though. Was it Denon or was it Bothaway where I put the Kilix
Affirmative.
Capitol building?
Battle imminent.
See, it's still just generic nonsense. It's not actual units. I mean, it's actual units, but it's not like faction unique units. You know what I mean? So that eliminates the Kilix from this whole equation. We're not doing the Kilix. Where was it? I put 2 of the Capitol buildings. It was one of these. I guess it didn't actually do 2 of them. It just did the one. Fair enough. I didn't really expect it to, but I was kind of curious. It might have been Fallis, and that might be why that's a little bit higher than the other 2, but it's not that much higher. Oh, that's high as well. Okay. Well, let's see here. Was there anything else in this test? Yes, there was, except I screwed it up. Well, let's go back. Okay. It does mean I'm going to have to redo a couple of things, namely getting these guys back over here.
All speed.
Pro tip: don't send actual conquering things onto the planets that don't have ground, because it will just look at that and go, oh, you want to conquer that? Okay, and then it just does that. Helpfully. We need to. What am I doing here? And I think what I'm gonna do is just select one of these guys. You can be with Wedge. Yeah, we'll send you, because we have Wedge here, and we'll see. So the main thing I'm trying to test here is, can I just select where they start like that, or do they have to be on the main planet where I push the button? I don't know. Oh, for goodness sake. Ooh. Okay. That's gonna be a bit. Anyway. Yes, we're gonna set these up again. I have made this so much more difficult than it needs to be. Need to remember to put these back over here before we hit the button, because that did definitely screw it up. Okay. We have a warlord. Wait. We have a warlord there. We have a warlord here. There. And Tatooine. Going to grab a save. And then we're going to get rid of these. This one we're going to leave. I have the distinct impression that I'm doing something wrong here, but I guess we're going to find out. It could possibly be that you're supposed to have one of these and one of these in order to make it work, but I don't know, which is why we're testing. Akbar is over Fondor with his fighter hero. I feel like I sent him there the last time and he wasn't there, but I kind of got distracted and didn't properly test. This is here. This is here. I think thing to do is going to be to take this and send it there. These guys here are all ground heroes. And we didn't have any ground heroes. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, I didn't test to see if we got access to the... Is there anything else? You know what? Let's just slap that in there as well. Just for purposes of testing. I'm gonna grab another save. Okay. You, and you. We're going to attack those to see what happened there. Oh, you know, they might actually need a capital building. Huh. Oh. Yep, those just got eaten. Let's do... Because I've got one of each of the types. Let's do that. Nope. Because I've got 2 of these. And 2 of these. So let's find out if that does anything. Versus this. Is there something else? I don't think so. When we come back to here, we're going to have to properly decide which faction to use as that faction, as the mid-game crisis faction, but not right now. Let's do this.
Invasion commencing.
Okay, Akbar Home 1 did not spawn. So... Did that other hero spawn? He would have been with him, right? So let's send you off to Naboo in a second. Before we do that, though... First things first, where's some... It didn't give us... Oh, I didn't actually leave a doohickey there. This is why we take saves, people. Just, you know, in case you were wondering. Okay. Oh, wait, no. It's too expensive. That's why we can't build it. I'm not sure how to handle this, honestly. Well,
Mission log updated.
really? Oh. Oh. That'll be cool. Nope. Come on now.
Setting course.
Oh, that's enough credits. Yeah, it let it's it.
Imminent. Unit cancelled.
The thing is, what we're doing here, because of the way we're doing it, it kind of has to necessitate something of a time skip. So you could potentially make the argument that in the time it's been since, you know, between the last version where we left the campaign and this version where we have had a mid-game crisis happen, it did actually work.
On the double, my liege.
Okay. So it does seem like you have to have it on this, on the start planet.
Antilles reporting for duty.
It does also, it did seem like, according to the
You have our full attention.
descriptions of them, that you can
This wasn't our battle to win.
what am I trying to say here? You can potentially select which planets. No, not planets. Which heroes you want? What the fighter heroes have a selection of different heroes that they can attach to, and it seemed, according to the description, that if there's more than one available, you can do something to select which one. Is what I'm trying to say and absolutely failing at. Okay, this is a proper faction. Let's take a poke at Druckenwell. Already? Wait a minute.
Tactical battle imminent.
Who had Kashyyyk? Was that... I left that... I don't... Did I leave... I think I might have left that independent. Yikes, okay. Well, that was remarkably quick. I don't see any hero units. Although I don't actually know if this minor faction had hero units. That's a lot of betas. Are those betas? Oh no, those are gammas. Ever since having played Phoenix Rising and gotten the gammas really upgraded, they kind of terrify me a little bit. They shouldn't necessarily, because these are regular gammas, not
Imminent.
ridiculously upgraded ones, but still, every time I see one,
Inbound!
I immediately think, oh gosh, that's not good. No heroes here as well. I'm failing to see what the difference is between these and the regular independent forces. Says minor warlords, so it is a different faction. Independent forces, different faction. Can we... Why is BIS unlocked? What? Why? How? Where's Deep Space? Deep Space is unlocked. Okay, no it's not. It's just lying to me. Is Typhera?
Setting course.
Why did it let me send stuff here the last time I did this? Is it because the way I did it by accident kind of broke things a little bit? It's entirely possible. There's no way I can easily just pop over there, is there? Well, anyway, that is most of what I wanted to know. So, before I leave this, is there anything else I need to test? I just had a realization. It gave us these. Didn't give us the Mon Calamari, or Mon Mothma. Is that something that requires a specific planet? Didn't think so. Why would it give us access to build one and not the other? Where's another big shipyard? Chardon? No? Am I just missing it? Am I blind? No. That's just all the regular. Fondor. Huh. Is it... We have already done that. Okay. That doesn't look... Let's see. Chief of State? No. Fighter pilots? No. Supreme Commanders? No. High Command? No. Tire? Ground? Jedi? Is that... Will it let me see? Is there anything? No. Okay. I don't know. Where is... No. No. Mon Mothma is currently Chief of State, so... If it requires her, then, should have her. Yeah, I got nothing. What about... Story mission... Campaign... No... This is a mission... Nope, I'm not that bothered in terms of not having it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, I don't understand, and that's a problem. Well, that was fast. Yeah, I'm not... as much as it would be fun... Well, let's go back. Okay. So, first off, these guys. I'm... Very obvious difference between this and this. Oh. Just realized I forgot to send them each... Send a, faction capital. This is actually not the save I wanted. I wanted one before this. Yes, with things being in a slightly easier to manage position. You go ahead and come back.
Moving out.
I might... Oh, I did already, huh? Put... one pilot there. I would be opposed to using to adding in any like proper heroes, you know. Obviously, anyone that's been killed, we're not using, regardless. Even if it gives us the option to build them again, that's not happening. But heroes that we haven't used, you know, I don't think it's right to use them, to spawn them in, you know, with the exception of fighter heroes. I'm kind of more okay with potentially doing that. On the other hand, I did notice the starfighter hero selection, so maybe we can just build them. I'll put a pin in that and consider. One thing that I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do is that.
Moving out.
Because I'm not waiting until... How many years is it that we would have to wait in order to get the research for these? I don't think it's entirely unreasonable to say that, hey, time has passed. Time has passed. This mid-game crisis has happened. Research has been done, and now we have access to some things that we didn't before. It's a bummer we can't do anything for the enemy factions. Similar, but like, there's only so much that we can do. And also, it's worth mentioning, we can just decide, hey, we're not going to build these. This is just giving us the option. And I think that makes enough sense that we're gonna go ahead and do that. Now, the mid-game crisis faction, right? I think there are two requirements that need to be met in order for a faction to qualify for what I'm trying to do here. So, let's go back over the whole idea. we were in the middle of the campaign, as it was in episode 121. 121 episodes into the campaign. And then a separate new faction came in, I'm thinking from here-ish, came in and carved a line through the galaxy. I'm thinking what happened is, because Akbar was here, they came in, they hit here, pushed Akbar back to here, but then he stopped them, potentially at Bespin, forced them to go back, and they went this way instead, up through Abrogado, pushed Wedge back, hit these, basically carving through the path that our two fleets were kind of like exchanging blows. You know, we had been here, back and forth, here, crashed through Corellia, took these guys, ended at Nalhada. The Hutts, seeing the incoming potential doom, mobilized their fleets and said, "No, we're not having this. If they come and attack us, we're going to be ready." So that explains why they are currently active. The invading faction, it was essentially slowly taking attrition damage as they came through and took all of this, to the point where once they reached Nalhada, and Bothaway, I guess, maybe they split up, and that was we smashed them here, they smashed them there, or something to that effect. But basically, the combined efforts of all of these battles having taken place whittled them down to the point where they ran out of steam and stopped here. That presumably would have to have taken several months at least, potentially a year or two. In that time, everyone lost fleets to them in the process of trying to stop them, which explains why everyone has kind of been set back to square one, more or less. These guys have also, you know, taken these planets and in the, like, they came through, they did leave some stuff behind, which contributed to their attrition damage, but it meant that when they finally got stopped, everyone kind of was forced to stop for a while. And everyone started to build back up. We are picking up where everyone has gotten back to the point where they feel comfortable actually pushing out again and continuing the campaign. It also allowed certain smaller factions up here in the north to kind of rise up and take a planet here and there. Lord Mantell, Kutrick, and that is what is going to be these guys. We're going to send them to those planets, and that is sort of to indicate partially that the Imperial factions up here are further fracturing, and partially just as a, like, for example, the Mandalorians, they saw an opening where everyone was focused down here with a more powerful threat. They saw an opening to make their own play, basically. So, with that as the story so far, what faction makes the most sense for having done something of this sort? Ideally, if they were in the game, the Yuzon Vong would be the most obvious choice for this. They are not, so that's, you know, they're out of the question. Additionally, I do think it's really important that this faction be, as at the top of this discussion, I said they need to have two particular traits in order to be eligible for this. First, they need to not have an active AI. I think that's really important because I don't want to just completely change this campaign. This campaign has had a very particular character over the course of the campaign. And a major feature of it is the Imperial Remnant has been the largest and most powerful and most dangerous enemy out here for a long time. I don't want to remove that. I don't want to change that. Having a faction suddenly come in to just... First of all, we're ceding a lot of planets to them, so that would give them a lot of strength. Many of these planets are connected, which is also giving them a lot of strength. That would mean that they can potentially completely alter the course of the way this campaign has been going, and that's not something that I'm wanting to do. Because at that point, we have a different campaign that is completely separate from what we had been doing before. And at that point, it would honestly make more sense to just start a new campaign or carve things up differently, add in all of the factions willy-nilly. You know, that's not what I wanted to do here. We have this campaign, and I don't know if anyone remembers this, because I frequently forget, but this campaign is technically a sort of theoretical continuation of the previous Phoenix Rising campaign. That's how I actually did this to start with. My first Empire at War campaign was in the Empire Expanded Clone Wars mod, which I'm failing to remember the name of that mod. But that was the trajectory. We went through the Clone Wars, into Phoenix Rising, into this campaign. That was the whole idea, and obviously we haven't in any way been very close to the actual Legends lore, but that was the idea. But you know, at the very least, I'm trying to maintain some vague semblance of continuity here. Because we are updating the mod, there are things here that I kinda can't get away from. I really like the idea of this mid-game crisis happening, but I don't want it to completely overturn the campaign. Right? So in other words, this faction can't have an active AI, because otherwise it just would change things too much. The only reason that I'm considering this in the first place is because I have access to factions that don't have an active AI. If that wasn't an option, I wouldn't even be thinking about this in the first place. Most likely, on these planets where they are under contention during well, at the end of the last episode, at the end of the last proper episode where we were actually playing the campaign, these planets, probably what I would end up doing if I didn't have access to a faction without an AI is I would just leave them blank. Leave them independent, and we'll, you know, figure things out from there. So with all that having been said, as much as it would be interesting to do, for example, where are they? The Hutt cartels as the faction that did this. I mean, you could easily say, hey, they woke up and instead of starting at that end on the left, started over here on the right and went that way. That would actually be perfect. genuinely, I would prefer to do it that way and have the Hutts be the faction, because it would make sense lore-wise. They have, in the lore, large amounts of mothballed ships that they can just activate if they felt like it. We could potentially contrive some kind of motivation for why they might do that. It'd be difficult, let's be honest. It's the Hutts. They don't like to directly involve themselves in anything if they don't have to. But the whole problem here is this is an active faction, and that would change this campaign. Too much. It's just too much. So we can't do them. Obviously, none of the factions that are, actually on the map, none of them work. I don't think it makes sense that minor warlords would be able to do that. This is an active faction. We could do the inactive version. But again, I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense, really, because the whole idea is this outside faction came in and took out everyone's fleets. If it was a case of we were fighting back and forth over these planets and then decided to pull back for a while to rebuild, and then Imperial remnant little factions came in and took them over, that would honestly be preferred. But the problem with that is there's no reason for us to just suddenly call off attacking each other unless our fleets were completely destroyed, and the only way that's going to happen is if something does that. Otherwise, it would be a case of one side or the other loses, and the winner carries on into taking more territory. There wouldn't be a case of, oh, these planets are just not being contested anymore because the two sides decided to stop fighting one another. I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense lore-wise if some other faction came in, distracted the two of us, forced us to not necessarily work together, but set aside our own conflict for a temporary, oh, we've got to fight these guys. It also, this sort of thing, with a more or less straight line through the galaxy, this is something that has happened during our campaign at least twice that I have noticed. The Pentastar alignment at one point had a fleet with, I think it was 2 super ships. At least 1, possibly 2. They carved their way in a more or less straight line through down to somewhere here. I don't remember exactly where they stopped. And I believe at least Zinj, and I think potentially the CSA as well, did a similar thing going in this direction, which is why Zinj has planets way the heck over here. CSA has planets way the heck over here. I'm pretty sure they've both done essentially the exact same thing, starting over there and working their way to the left in a straight line. So that's like a faction starting somewhere and carving a single-ish planet-wide line through the galaxy is absolutely something that we have experienced before. So it's sort of, I guess you could call it in character for the campaign, if that makes sense. So there's reason to argue that this is a thing that has happened, can happen again, and the only reason it is going along these particular planets is because, on a meta level, I guess, these planets have been under, not that one as much, but, well, actually, yes, that one as well, because here's the thing. We give this planet to somebody, and whoever that is gets the full strength of those orbital defenses, and in our campaign as it was, We had not built up those orbital defenses, so it's essentially giving us... We had ownership of the planet, but it would be giving us access to a huge amount of defensive capability that we didn't do anything to earn. Same with Hakasi. I mean, look at that. Yes, we had Corellia fully, but like Jindine, Denon, Amberline, Bothawi, we just give those to us. That's a significant amount of essentially free strength. Now, I know you could argue, well, we're losing it in the form of having our fleets removed, but so is everybody else. I don't feel like that's nearly enough. And again, I say, I like the idea of a mid-game crisis happening. It just requires a very particular faction in order to make this make sense. So, with all of that out of the way, let's actually properly discuss which faction is it going to be that is going to be the mid-game crisis faction. I think, in terms of, let's actually just start off by pulling out all of the ones that are inactive AI. No, the whole thing. That one, no. You guys, Tusken League is actually active. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course it is. Corellians, Ceruvi, Kilix, and that's it. Okay. Here are all of the options that have no AI. So, what do? I'm not gonna do the Corellians because it absolutely does not make sense for them to just do that. Both lore-wise, narrative-wise, and also just, like... I don't feel like they would be... Like, why would they do that? Them taking over Corellia after the dust has settled, basically, that can work. Them suddenly rising up after we have held the planet for many episodes now, and then just carving their way to the left and right. That doesn't seem like that works very well to me. And again, I don't feel like they would have any motivation to do that. The thing with the Corellians is they're kind of not really isolationist, but they're not conquerors, really. These guys certainly are. And you could make an argument that, like, they have done similar things in the past, but at this stage in the galaxy, they don't have that kind of power. I'm perfectly willing to accept that they have exploited an opening. I mean, again, Mandalore is really highly defended, but I don't remember. It was either... Was it Muldrude, actually? I don't remember. Somebody... No, it wasn't Muldrude. It was one of these guys. Had this. It might have been them. They had this, but they had only recently conquered it, and they didn't have any of the structures. So, if I just gave that to them, that's an enormous amount of extra power that they get for free, and that's not fair, and it, you know... I'm fine with the Mandalorians having a planet. That's fine. That makes a degree of sense, and that works narratively, and you know what, it would kind of also just be nice to fight the Mandalorians at some point. I doubt we'll get the chance, but there's a possibility. That's you know, a slim possibility that we might have an encounter with a faction that we haven't already is perfectly fine. That's not going to change the outcome of the campaign drastically. Or at all, really. Minor Warlords. again, I just doesn't really make sense. The only thing I can think is that they opportunistically took over after us two smashed each other to pieces. But, like, I'm okay with them having a planet here, planet there. It kind of rose up and gathered together, you know, a dozen or so ships. That's fine. Having a whole line of planets carved through the galaxy, that's way too much for little minor warlords. Like, where would they get the ships? The only thing I can think is that these guys had some massive defections, like both the Remnant and Maldrude had a massive number of ships defected to do what? Just have a line of planets that they just decide these are ours now? I don't know, that doesn't really feel like that makes a whole lot of sense. Surely they would band together and like become a proper faction at that point. I don't like that option. I don't think so. So, we're down to these three. As demonstrated when we actually got into the campaign properly and fought them, these guys don't have any actual units of their own yet. Obviously, I would have to assume that this is coming soon, TM, but it's not in this version of the mod, so that's out of the question. Because, you could... The Killiks could do something like this, but I don't want to put them in just because, yes, lore-wise, okay, sure, Killiks could do something like that, but they just conveniently don't have any of their actual ships left over. It doesn't feel fun, you know? That's not interesting. Because at that point, I mean, the forces they had were not all that dissimilar to the Imperial Remnant factions. So that's just, it's not interesting. And that leaves these two. So, what do we do? Problem with these guys is similar, but not quite the same as the Killiks, in that they have not very many of their own ships, of their own unique ships. Is that necessarily a problem? It just makes it a little less interesting, you know? Because what it'll end up meaning is we have all of these planets, and they're going to be the same 2-ish units that we go through. On top of that, again I say, I've said this repeatedly, and I keep coming back around to this same point, being that they were already in the campaign and got defeated. Now, you could make the dubious argument that, what we saw here was not the majority of their forces. They had more, and they used them to come in and avenge their fallen brethren, so to speak. That's, I guess you could, I mean, we're already having to bend time and space to make this work in the first place, so it's not the worst thing in the world. So, I can't discount them as a possibility the way I have discounted the other ones. So let's compare it with the other option, the Chiss Ascendancy. They, militarily, could almost certainly pull off something like this because they've they have not been present in this campaign at all. It's worth mentioning, however, 2 major points. 1, location. This is not their location. They would have started something like this somewhere back here. I believe in with the way this galaxy is set up. What are you? Doesn't really say. But I think the Chiss would be somewhere like here. Or so. So it doesn't make a huge amount of sense that they would come into the galaxy here. On the other hand, they are, at least theoretically, aligned with the Empire of the Hand. And as you can see, they have not done particularly well this campaign. So you could potentially argue that having seen, because the Chiss Ascendancy, if I remember correctly, are they're not actual pacifists, but they don't attack unless provoked. They're not quite isolationist, but they do kind of keep to themselves, if I'm remembering correctly. So maybe you could argue that during the course of this campaign, an argument has been going on as to whether they should intervene, and at this point they decided to intervene. But it does, that doesn't necessarily not work, but you would expect them to kinda come and try to rescue these guys if that is the reason they're getting involved in the first place. You know? So, that kinda doesn't work. Militarily, they absolutely could. And in terms of, gameplay, fun element, they would be more interesting to fight than these guys by a long way. So, I think the conclusion I'm having to come to here is, in terms of location, the Siruvi make more sense to be able to do this exact thing. In terms of gameplay, the Chiss would be more interesting and fun to do this with. In terms of lore, you really kinda gotta stretch some things to make either of them work, because again, on the one hand, the Siruvi have been defeated already, so they're kind of out of the game. And on the other hand, the Chiss are way the heck up there, and they're not likely to actually do this in the first place. But yeah. Again, I'm coming back around to the issue of these guys would kind of make the most sense in this particular instance, but we can't do that because their AI is active. So we're stuck with one or the other of these two. And frankly, at this point, I'm fairly evenly torn between the two. So I'm going to just say I'm going to leave it and let you all decide. I am going to send these guys. I'm going to give each of them a doodah. How many was it? I don't remember exactly how many planets we needed. Something like this. One thing that nobody gave me any feedback on is who you guys want to be factions that take over. So I'm just gonna randomly grab some of these guys. I'm not leaving anything behind, am I? No. Oh. Whoops. I didn't mean it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of randomly select some. Where is the other group? Here. I don't know. How about you? We'll grab one from there. I think... I'm just not entirely sure. But I'm gonna do that. You can go to Carrick. And we can see at a glance what's going on. How about Realm? I don't know, dude. This one. You can have not Ornamental. Q-Trick. Do Q-Trick. I'm still a little torn about Ornamental, but at the same time, I was also, like, I was planning on leaving these guys neutral. But having now found out that it makes them into independent forces, I might actually make these three into this, which is an active Minor Warlords faction. That might be the better way to do it. Prophets of the dark side, huh? I don't know, man. I guess... Is that actually Lumia? Yeah. She has been in the campaign, hasn't she? You know what? For the sake of, I don't know, something. No, come on. Is it not gonna let me? It might not let me. It might not let me at all. Is it... Oh, come on. Let me do the thing. Can I really not give you the maw? Why? Why will it let me move these there? What if we do this? No. Okay. Whatever. I guess... Oh, you can't be... I'm... On the one hand, I kind of don't want to take Lumia away from the Empire. On the other hand, this would mean that we guarantee seeing her again immediately. If we put her somewhere interesting, like, where was the other planet? Let's see, what was it? Maw? Oh, Roche. Yeah, Roche was the other one. We could put her in charge of these three, I guess. We already did Carrick and Q-Trick. Let's just send someone to Roche. How about you? There we go. Something like that. And then... I'm going to send them out over to here. And then I'm going to say... Okay, seriously, guys. let me know. Should I make these guys Imperial Remnant? Leave them as independent? Should I make them this kind of minor warlord or the other kind of minor warlord? This one would be an active faction, and that's probably a little too much. So maybe that'd be a bad idea. So maybe... That is two really good planets for an active faction. I might actually be changing my mind. Yeah. So I guess the question actually is, should I make them minor warlords, or should I just leave them independent, or what? Because this line of 3 planets, again, all 3 of these are kind of in a similar position of these are really good planets. Bilbringi, especially, whoever gets that is getting a free massive amount of defense. So I think making them independent or minor warlords is the way to go, but I don't have any particular preference for which minor warlords or whatever, so let me know. And then let me know which one of these you want to go with, because I'm very torn. I really would have preferred to do the Killiks. They just don't have any actual units of their own, so it just wouldn't work. Other than that, what else? I think that's it. Yeah. I think after deciding that, we're gonna go ahead and be able to do this for real. Get this started. I think I might put faction capitals on all of these planets. I did briefly float the idea earlier, and on reflection, I think I will do that. Might possibly do that for some of ours and theirs planets as well. Just to be like, here's some additional strength. But I don't want to tip the balance too much, so that might be a bad idea. Again, with the mid-game crisis, we're talking about a faction that isn't active and is essentially being a buffer between us and them. Which I feel like I haven't been stressing quite enough. That is actually really significant for allowing us to get this whole campaign much closer to what it had been before we actually get into the fighting. Because if we strengthen all of these with the faction capital, it'll mean they have to get quite strong before they can actually attack and get through to us. That'll give us time to build up, that'll give them time to build up. So once the fighting actually starts, I should actually, before I leave things, one other thing that I should probably say, because I apparently forgot to say it last episode. When I actually hit the button, for real this time, not that one, for real, and actually get this started, I am essentially going to fast forward through building up, getting things, getting the fleets all divvied out. Probably what I'll do is I'll pause the game, take all of our heroes, where the heroes, divvy them up into surrounding planets, divvy up some starting forces for each of them, send them out to the front lines, and then fast forward, building up our infrastructure, building up our ships, getting ready until we get attacked. Then I will how do you say that? Toggle fast forwarding. Yeah, let's call it that. Toggle that off, And then that is when the campaign will actually properly progress into the future. And in doing that, having this substantial buffer between us and the rest of the galaxy is actually pretty significant. So it should mean that once we actually get back to the fighting, things will be really substantial again. We're not gonna go back to dealing with little piddly fleets with a handful of ships. We should get back to what we had been doing with massive, great, huge fleets. That does also remind me. No, it doesn't actually let you look at it here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, cruel AI. I will be toggling that on again, but not until probably that first battle when things actually get started. Because, like, again, having cruel AI on has definitely been a major component of the campaign. It's a big reason of why we've faced such enormous enemy fleets, and I don't want to lose that. So yeah, that I think is gonna do it. We have, I believe, set everything up, with the exception of these 3 planets. Nope, these 3 planets. Tell me what you want to do with these. It'd probably be simplest just to give minor warlords and not think about it too hard. But tell me if you want certain specific heroes to be involved in that. I don't really know what we're gonna do with the Maw. I'll do that now. Send one of these things over there just to say, hey, this is a minor warlord now. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with the locked planets, but what could you do? Genuinely, what can you do? Is there any way to unlock these manually? Because that'd be really nice. But anyway, there's that, and then there is the question of what mid-game crisis faction should we go with? The Chiss Ascendancy or the Siruvi Imperium? Answer me those 2 questions, and then we will get this started properly. I think, as far as I can tell, everything else is fully set up for us to be able to get this started. It's just those 2 questions, and frankly, this one doesn't really matter nearly as much as this one. This is the big thing, because this really will make a significant difference to the way the first probably 10 or so episodes of the campaign, next 10 episodes or so, which we decide is probably going to have a significant effect on how it plays. So let me know what you think. And with that, I will say, take care and farewell.